Welcome back to CryptosRUs. I'm George. We're all George. So, there's the market bell. U.S. market has started today. Of course, let's talk about what's going on in the world of crypto. What's going on with U.S. markets, which has opened in the red, and why Jim Cramer is so worried and issuing a pretty dire warning to all Bitcoin and crypto investors. So, let's talk about that as well. So, welcome, guys. Good morning. The market bell has just rung. And today, it looks like we're opening in the red. Yesterday, we had a decent day. Decent green day. But today could wipe out all gains from yesterday. And the thing is, the driver of today's redness is actually a good thing, not a bad thing at all. That's because the payroll growth surged. So in the US in December, we actually had a ton of people finding jobs, and this is good. This is normally you want this. Normally you want to hear that more people are getting jobs and having work and be able to pay the bills. But Dow Jones estimate was coming in at 153,000 for December, but the number went up to 235,000. So normally speaking, if we weren't in this weird time, this would be absolutely fantastic. But why this is driving markets down today? Because everyone's fearful that Powell's going to look at this and remain hawkish on his rate hikes. That is the situation we're in right now. I mean, this is fantastic, but not good for markets. You know, it's been like this for over a year now. Whenever we get good economic data shows the strength of the economy, things tank. What Powell wants to see is this instead. Bed Bath & Beyond plummet as company warns of deeper financial troubles. Yesterday, we saw Amazon reported to lay off 18,000 people. Salesforce laying off 7,000 people. This is what Fed Chair Powell wants to see, right? Unfortunately, he wants to see bad things happening in the economy, not good things. So, unfortunately, we're still stuck in that mode, and we could be stuck in that mode for quite some time in 2023 until the rate hikes stop altogether. So that's what's driving markets this morning. Let's see if we can turn around, but unfortunately, we got good news that turned into bad. And it shouldn't be like that. It shouldn't be like that at all. All right. And then next up, you know what? We got to talk about Jim Cramer. Mad Money host Jim Cramer issues warning about Binance, but not just Binance, about everyone, all Bitcoin and crypto investors, holders. He's not fond. He's not fond in the entire space. But, you know, yesterday I talked about how the SEC is trying to put a stop to that Binance Voyager merger acquisition, I should say, right? A lot of people have been waiting for a long time to get some of their assets back, waiting for a company to take over Voyager so that could happen, so they could distribute it. But the SEC didn't like that. SEC and Gary Gensler, they're trying to do what they can to throw a wrench in anything that's productive in crypto right now. Okay, so unfortunately, that's still ongoing. But Jim Cramer decided to chime in on it this morning. SEC not letting Binance close the Voyager deal. I think the SEC is very worried that Binance will prove to be more commercial. I think that's a misspelling, commercial than we think. I reiterate, I do not like crypto, and its defenders are too strident about its need. I just don't want people to lose money needlessly. And this comment summarizes everything. No worries, Jim. If people follow your stock picks, they would have lost their savings 5x already. But here's the thing. Like I said yesterday, I do think that SEC and Gary, they're on a crusade really to kind of take control of everything. And there's still a lot of things not in their jurisdiction, right? But the one way Gary knows how to make everything under his control is by just declaring everything securities, right? So that's the thing. And right now, even though Binance.us, not Binance, Binance.us has the money, made the offer, and is now willing to take on Voyager and give people their assets back. SEC does not want that, right? So I don't know. And their reasons are kind of weird. Like, first of all, they're like, you don't have enough money. Obviously, Binance does. Otherwise, they wouldn't have made the offer. And second, it's like, we want to see what you do with the assets you buy. What business is of theirs to ask for that? And why use that as a reason to stop the acquisition, right? So the whole thing is just kind of wonky. But Jim Cramer, you know, he's so bearish on crypto now, on Bitcoin. But let's not forget that back in 2017, Jim Cramer called Bitcoin hitting 1 million someday. Okay, so Jim Cramer's new, obviously, to crypto and Bitcoin. He never really understood it. But when things were FOMOing, well, he was one of the first to project the moon. This was in June of 2017. That was when Bitcoin was still at like $5,000. And he was projecting that it was going to go to 1 million already. And then in 2020, after talking with Anthony Pompliano, then he publicly declared that he was going to buy Bitcoin. And he did. And he bought Ethereum. And later on, he said he took his Bitcoin profits and paid off his house. Right? So Jim Cramer, not too long ago, was a pretty big Bitcoin and crypto bull. But of course, he got in when things were better. Didn't really understand the 4-year cycle. Didn't really understand that things move in waves. Although he should. He's been an investor for like 50 plus years, right? You should understand there's up and downs. And even with stocks, they go up and down. And when something goes down, does not necessarily mean that the entire company is bad or the entire sector is bad, right? I mean, he should understand all this, but apparently he does not, at least with Bitcoin and crypto, right? So he's been warning, very bearish, telling people to get out, saying, well, things could still go lower, right? Definitely not a long-term holder. Even though Jim's claims, you know, he always talks about buying more stocks in his charitable trust. He used to be a hedge fund manager of a $500 million fund, right? You would figure he should be a long-term investor, a long-term holder, not a swing trader, not a day trader. He never acts like it. But when it comes to crypto, it does seem like that's the stance he has, which, again, doesn't make a whole lot of sense. All right, so that's the warning from Jim Cramer. So you take that however you want. But most people are taking it inversely. All right, now what else is there? Well, this is kind of a shocking news. And this adds to the conspiracy theories that people had about SBF being a fall guy, the government's possibly, you know, setting this whole thing up to see FTX fail so that they could see the entire crypto sector fail. Remember this guy, Daniel Fredberg? A lot of people said, hey, this guy is no good. He was involved with some online casino or online poker scam where, you know, he was advising people that had God mode, and it was just like, you know, ripping people off left and right. And he was the lead counsel to FTX and Alameda. But, you know, this guy just disappeared off the face of the earth, supposedly. But now it's been reported, no. He's been talking to about 20 U.S. investigators, and he will be standing in as a government witness. He is not going to be charged with anything. Okay? So he's not pleading or anything. He's not like Gary or Caroline that actually made some kind of plea agreement. He's actually just coming in as a witness. So it makes you wonder if this guy was planted in all along because they knew something was going to happen, or he made something happen. We don't know. This is wild. Wild is coming out. So he's going to be a government witness come October. Okay. And he's been sharing details about SBF's use of customer money, how sister trading firm Alameda Research operated, and a whole lot of stuff. So he's been meeting with 20 investigators, including officials from Justice Department, FBI, SEC, and the South District of New York, right? And supposedly, because he was a lawyer, right, he asked FTX to waive his attorney-client privilege. They said no, but he ignored that anyways and still worked with the authorities. Okay, I don't even see how that's legal when they said you can't. Well, I guess in the case of fraud, I guess you can make the case that you can break the attorney-client privilege, but still, I think this whole thing is wild, really wild. But again, from now to October, that's a lot of time, 9 months. I don't know where this is going to go, but this just broke. So, kind of weird. All right, next up is Silvergate, which is a large crypto bank, and they are hurting right now. Hurting because of the massive amount of withdrawals and because their ties to FTX and Alameda. They had to sell off a ton of assets, and they scrapped whatever they bought from Facebook. You know, Facebook had their Dem project, which is like their own crypto coin, is their stable coin. Facebook took a huge loss. I don't know how many billions they lost. They sold it to Silvergate, who is now writing that off to zero. So they're giving up on that. They're laying off 40% of their personnel, which is around 200 employees, and they're liquidating their debt, and they lost $718 million in the process. So Silvergate is looking really, really bad, but they say they still have enough funds to continue forward, and they will continue to operate, right? But yeah, crypto contagion is still spreading, so obviously hurting a lot of companies right now. All right, what else is going on? Well, this is very positive, very positive. You have a presidential candidate in Argentina that is recognizing how important Bitcoin is, saying that Bitcoin is a natural reaction to the scam of central banks. He even called central banks scams, right? This is what Bitcoiners believe in. The first thing we have to understand is that central bank is a scam. It's a mechanism by which politicians cheat the good people with inflationary tax. What Bitcoin is representing is a return of money to its original creator, the private sector. And then he goes on, Bitcoin has an algorithm that one day will reach a certain amount where there's no more. And it can compete with other currencies. In fact, it competes with Ethereum and others. And what is a good thing? The return of private money, right? Bitcoin is a natural reaction to the scam of central banks and money returning private sector. And the flip side is that the thieving politicians are not going to allow you to go against legal tender. In economies with high inflation, the scam is bigger. That's why I suggest you can propose to close the central bank. Interesting. Sounds like President Bukele. Sounds like someone that understands that, the world we live in right now, the central banks and the Feds of the world, right? They are not looking out for your best interest. They're looking out for their best interest. They're looking out for the interests of the banks, not the people, even though they're supposed to be. But, even though we're suffering high inflation now, keep in mind, inflation is always there. There's always more printing. 2 to 3% adds up year over year over year, but the last three years, obviously, it has been much worse, right? And the banks, the crooked banks that does something wrong, they get a slap on the wrist and they get bailed out by the central banks, right? In 2009, we would have had, or 2008, we would have had a global catastrophe, a financial meltdown because every single bank over-leveraged, bought too many mortgage-backed securities, and they were all going to go under until the central banks around the world bailed each and every one out, right? Unfortunately, we don't get those kind of bailouts in crypto, but in the financial world, we do. So he gets it. Hopefully, he could become president, and makes Bitcoin legal tender, or maybe just close the central bank and utilize Bitcoin altogether. So that's also fantastic. And then lastly, just to give you guys some hope about where Bitcoin is going, you can see, according to this logarithmic curve, some of the bottom points that Bitcoin has established over the years. Once they have done, once those bottoms have been established, look at the upside, right? Quite tremendous, and that is what we're waiting for next. Good stuff, my friends. All right, let's see. Today's shaping out to be a horrible day. May wipe out all the gains from yesterday. So I know Bed Bath & Beyond is having a horrible day, minus 23%. And this is all due to good news. This is all, that's the thing. And where's Tesla at? Tesla lost even more today than what they gained yesterday. Can't catch a break. But Bitcoin is still holding strong. Crypto is still holding strong. That is awesome. All right, let's do some Q&A. Good morning to everyone on Rumble, Doge, Bad Sunshine, Jimmy. On Twitch, you got Dr. Seuss and Hike to Earth. Welcome. And then let me see. Scrolling up here. Alan, Scooby-Doo. Good morning. All right, I know, Dan, you got a couple of super chats I didn't look at. Big Short 2 is being written right now. It's gonna be based on FTX. I'm sure there's gonna be a movie about that. Poor countries, I don't believe. Actually, in BTC, they're just using it to sell for USD so they can prop up their economies. In Salvador, most people don't have bank accounts. They refuse to use Bitcoin. You know what, Dan? I think you're spreading a little more FUD due to lack of understanding of things. Most people on Earth do not have bank account. That's the point of having a crypto wallet. That's the point of having Bitcoin, because you don't need one. You are your own bank account. Bukele has said there's more people in Bitcoin, more people in El Salvador holding Bitcoin in their own wallet than they do of bank accounts. That's reality right now. As for merchants accepting Bitcoin, I do agree with you. Merchants do not hold Bitcoin because they can't. They need that money to operate. So they utilize like Strike or Cash App to convert to dollars or whatever instantly. That is true. But governments like El Salvador, they're holding on hundreds of Bitcoins themselves. That's not merchants. That's the government themselves. And a few other countries are following. So there's a difference there. It's still very early, of course. George, it looks like Bonk got dumped on. Well, didn't I warn you guys of that? I warned you guys. Whenever you got everyone, or not everyone, but a ton of people. Is this it? No. Did they get rid of it? Why are they all trading pairs now? What happened to just searching for a coin? Or maybe they removed it. Oh, no, there it is. Well, still up for the day, but I warned everyone. When people come into live chat and everyone's like, talking about it, right? It's probably like right here. That's usually what happens. When you have people like all going crazy about it, that usually forms the top. And from there to where it is now, it's probably down, I don't know, 30 or 40%. This is why you don't want to FOMO in on these projects, because more often than not, you're going to lose. Every day, more of the same. We can't catch a break. Hey, you gotta stay strong, my friend. Volatility is the price of admission for crypto and for all investments, really. I mean, right now there's very little volatility for Bitcoin. There's a lot of volatility for tech stocks and equities, but it's a patience game. It really is. People that hold the longest and buy when they're supposed to, when it's low, when things are low rather than high, they're the ones that win. If USDC becomes CBDC, will it become more valuable if you're holding it? No, it won't, because it's still worth $1. It'll still decrease. It'll inflate over time and get less valuable over time. Showstopper. Hope you have a great day. You too. Yeah, today is escalating to be a very bad day. Why would BTC be considered a store of value? Why not a stablecoin backed by the US dollar, backed and insured by the Fed? That sounds stable. So then why do you invest at all? The dollar's backed by nothing. The dollar's backed by a Fed with an unlimited printing machine. So if you consider that backing, I don't know, then maybe you need to rethink things. When you have someone that has an unlimited printing machine, why would you want to hold on to that? Just think about that. That's why we have inflation, because more dollars and fiats around the world are being printed. And just because US dollar has been the world's reserve currency for 100 plus years, keep in mind, before the US dollar is the British pound. Before the British pound, it was something else, Swiss franc. Before that was something else. Reserve currencies collapse. Countries collapse due to financial instability, due to debt that they can't pay, due to overprinting. And unfortunately, we have seen much of that over the last 3 years. So it's the same reason why people buy gold when there's fear. It's because no one trusts the central banks. No one trusts that they actually know what they're doing when it comes to money. Because whenever there's problems, what do? They spin up the machine and print more money. That's the reason. Isn't that how Dogecoin too? Most crypto do not have a set supply. Ethereum doesn't have a set supply, even though it's kind of deflationary at this point with the burning. Doge doesn't have a set supply. A lot of crypto projects don't have set supply. There's a few that does, obviously. Bitcoin does. BNB does. XRP does. But the thing about the projects without set supplies, well, they inflate, yes, but as long as there's more users coming in, because the ecosystem is growing due to the dApps, right? It offsets that. That's why they still go up, because there's more people coming in, buying and holding versus the inflation rate of the tokens. Now, if you don't have people coming in and utilizing the dApps, well, then of course it inflates, and it goes to zero eventually. But that is why the big projects you see, that's not happening with them, even though they don't have a set supply. They're still rising up and much higher than a few years ago. When is Fed now? I have no idea. I have no idea. Is it March? I think it's still too early. I think it's still too early. Cardano has a set supply. Okay, I didn't know about that. I mean, there's a lot that does, a lot that doesn't. Thoughts on the next alt season? Well, I think things will get better second half of 2023. I think right now, leading to about June or July, we're going to see more consolidation, more stagnant movement. I think we could see a little recovery. I definitely think we can go back above 20,000 before June or July. That's certainly in the cards. But afterwards, I think we're going to see more traction. Once the rate hikes stop, once Powell announces on FOMC meeting that we will be stopping the rate hikes because they want to hit about 5%, which is about two more rate hikes to get there. Once we get that stoppage, I think that's when we could recover, and that's going to be second half of 2023. Doesn't mean we're going to shoot up to the moon right away, but then we don't have to be fearful about stuff like this. You know, today market was driven down because of good news. Like, how does that make sense? You want the economy to be strong. You want the labor force to be strong. You want people working. And you don't want unemployment to go up. But unfortunately, these are things that Powell looks at, and he's said many times, including the last FOMC meeting, he thinks wages are too high and the job market is too strong. Labor force is too strong, right? That's why a report like this is causing things to go down. That's horrible. That's horrible. You rather see this than say payroll growth is in a negative now and unemployment is skyrocketing. Like, why would you want to see that? But, you know, this is the reality we're in right now. But once the rate hikes stop completely, then, you know, reports like this could actually drive markets up, not down. And we're still about even for crypto today. Let's see. This is we were like 818 or something like that. We'll get back up there. Generally, the bottom is not in stocks until several months after cutting. Announcing a pivot will not be bullish. Google. The pivot, I'll agree to disagree to that. DXY pumping. Well, that's not what we want to see. Bed Bath & Beyond. Man, they are about to announce bankruptcy. Where's the DXY chart I always look at? Yeah, DXY went up. Gold retreats from a 6-month high. Well, it's still down from like 12 years ago. Tesla is down today, although not like a crazy sell-off, not like the negative 12% from Monday or a Tuesday. Will you ever cash out your BTC? If so, what's your number? I don't know. I don't have a goal. I just know I'm not aiming to be a billionaire, nothing like that. You know, once I hit a number, I'm like, all right, that's enough. It's enough for me. I'm not trying to like make infinite amount of money. At some point, you just got to realize it's more important things in life. So I don't know what that number is. How is the Coinbase wallet? So far, it's good. Other than the fact that on iOS, you can't send NFT transactions because of Apple, because they want to collect 30% of the gas fees, which is ludicrous because they don't really understand that gas fees is not profit. It's going to the network. But outside of that, it's still non-custodial wallet, and you can always restore to another wallet like Trust Wallet or any other wallet utilizing your recovery phrase. And yeah, if you have crypto on Coinbase, you can transfer it to Coinbase wallet very easily. They have like a one-click setup that's integrated, so that's pretty good. But then again, Trust Wallet also now has that one-click setup with Binance and I think Coinbase, where it can help you transfer really easily. Qualaman says, here in the UK, money printing only goes to the banks who lend it to us peasants. That's usually how it works. The money, the Fed and central banks were created. Well, first of all, if you look at the history of the Federal Reserve, it was not created to help banks. It was created because the bankers in charge wanted more power. But now, the central banks around the world, they're looking out for the banks. They're not really looking out for anyone. They want to make sure that the banks continue to operate and loan out as much money as they can, so they could collect their interest, right? That's how it's been. I keep hearing CZ and Vitalik hint at an AI-powered crypto. Everyone's saying, no, Stuart, I think you're just trying to pump up a silly token. So, no. Yeah, and I'm putting you in timeout even though you sent a super chat. It's clear that you were just trying to shill that token. Well, there's been no movement there. But Bitcoin is coming back. Do you think SBM's going to get off the hook or what? No, I don't. I think he's upset too many people. If anything, he will go. He's going to get a harsher sentence, or simply disappear because he probably knows too much and he's going to be the fall guy. The fact that this guy right here, right, is now standing in as a government witness, how convenient. How convenient. Maybe this guy was planted all along. You got to think about that. Like, how come all the other guys are not government witnesses? They all had to plea. Why is this guy a government witness? Right? You gotta figure something's going on. And it ties to Gary and CFTC. I mean, everything. It's so entrenched. It's kind of wild. So I don't think he's gonna get off. I think he's gonna get the harshest sentence possible. All right, guys. Let's conclude overall. Jim Cramer, who once said Bitcoin was going to go to $1 million, is now saying, he does not like Bitcoin or crypto. He has turned sour, but he has been sour for quite some time. So you take that with a grain of salt or a boatload of salt. You take it however you want. But for me, I think Jim is wrong. I think we will recover. We're already seeing signs of consolidating towards the bottom, right? So I do think greater days are coming. So stay strong, my friends, and I will see you guys tonight, 8:30 p.m. Central Standard Time. Take care. Bye-bye.